What's going on, y'all? So today's guest is now a professional MMA fighter. She just competed in Triton Fights 18 and won by a rear naked choke submission, her first submission win ever. She talks about her training, talks about her eating, and also talks about her little dog too. So please welcome my friend, Rebecca, the Giraffe, Evans. It's my foundation. It's my faith. It's my work ethic. It's my drive. It's everything that I've tried to build for myself that has made me who I am.
I'll do what it takes to make you believe.
Would you ever fight someone that was a friend?
Yeah.
Because you see that in UFC a lot.
Oh, yeah. I can put the difference, I can separate that.
Yeah.
That's not an issue with me. Like, I have a couple of friends who are close to the same weight, and if that was the opportunity, then that's the opportunity. You know, the way I look at it is every opponent is the next stepping stone to the next set, the next stage of my career.
Yeah.
So if it means fighting a friend, it means fighting a friend.
Right.
So we were actually talking about that this morning in kickboxing class, the Shevchenko sisters.
Right.
I'm like, I want to see them fight because they're in the same weight class.
Yeah, but the younger sister's just not as at that level.
Oh no, I think Valentina would murder her. But I think if she was if Antonina, is that her name? If she was the number one contender and next in line, I think both of them, just knowing she's very zeroed in on her fighting.
Yeah.
That hey, what's up, Daisy? If that was who the next opponent was, I think she'd take it, and I think they could separate that for 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And not be sisters for a month and a half, 2 months, and then things will be fine.
Right.
I think they have that combat mindset where they can. It's not emotional, it's not personal, and that they would fight each other. But
right.
I don't think the younger sister's nearly as good as Valentina, so I don't think that would.
Yeah, I don't think she's even close. But it's like when you saw Cerrone and Gaethje fight, and supposedly they're good friends. I didn't even know that, but it was just like they didn't go as hard. It felt like.
Well, even Gaethje stopped because he was like,
I don't want to.
He felt like he's like, I don't want to keep hitting my friend. Like,
right.
Like just call it now.
Yeah.
And the ref didn't, so he went in. Like, I mean, I think that's part of the fight game. Like, eventually you get around, especially if you're in the UFC, you're around each other, you cross train and stuff like that. You're gonna end up becoming friends with people in your weight class, and sometimes you fight each other.
Yeah, it's crazy. But 6 days? Like post fight? How do you feel?
Bloated. Yeah, I've been eating a lot. I don't like how I feel. I'm ready to go back on a diet. No, I feel good. I mean, I didn't 100% execute the game plan the way we meant to. I got a little excited at the start.
Yeah, I figured that.
But as far as, damage taken, I felt fine. A little bit of bruising here and there, but nothing overly significant.
Yeah.
I mean, most of my muscle soreness came from the drive back up.
Right.
Being stuck in the car for almost 20 hours. But otherwise, I feel, okay, when's the next one?
Yeah.
What's next? I mean, I have that planned out, but I have a grappling match in 2 months, but, otherwise, I feel normal. I'm going to go do class tonight and get some Muay Thai and some grappling in.
So have you been looking at any, other places rather than Triton, or are you going to try and, stay with them, or what?
I'm going to go to where the opportunity presents itself.
Right. Yeah.
Ideally, I'm looking, hopefully, July-ish. Just given everyone's schedules and stuff and traveling and things like that. That gives me time to kind of be in some sort of a maintenance sort of a mode as far as my weight goes, and get some time to get some additional training to fix some of the mistakes and stuff that we had during this fight, as well as then have time for a fight camp as well. So ideally, I'd like July or maybe early August, and then that would give me time maybe again in October, November.
Yeah.
Because I'd like to get at least, ideally, I'd like 2 more fights this year.
Right. Did you get a chance to watch the fight? Like the replay and stuff?
Yeah, so I watched the replay Tuesday morning when it went live.
Okay.
And then we showed the kids in class Tuesday, later that afternoon. And then yesterday's MMA class was let's pick apart Becca's fight and critique it.
Yeah.
And let's, start working on some of the things that we didn't do, which everyone was too nice to really say too much. And I had a whole page of my notes going, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, we need to do this.
Yeah.
Because, I'll probably always be the hardest on myself.
Of course. Let's take a quick break for a second and talk about Strong Tower Nutrition. It is my online and vitamin and supplement shop. We're striving to open our own store to be able to help you with your personal goals and your lifestyle change. These supplements can give you the edge that you need to reach your caloric intake, support your immune system, take care of your gut, and also give you that clean energy that you need throughout the day. So if you want to support Strong Tower Nutrition, you can follow us on Instagram at Strong Tower Nutrition and also visit us online at stnutrition.com. Today's guest is a Strong Tower athlete. So using the code GIRAFFE, GIRAFFE, will get you 20% off your entire order. So check us out. Help us reach our goal. Let's get back to the show.
But, take the 48 hours to, live in the moment and then start picking it apart.
And again, that's what I told you too. Like, that's part of being an athlete is just like you have all this stuff planned in your mind that you want to do. When you talk to your coaches, you talk to your team, you talked about, all these things that you want to do. But then the moment presents itself and you're just like, oh, let's go. You know what I mean? You just get right into it. And then all that other stuff was like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
It was essentially, there was supposed to be more like long distance striking in that versus the amount of wrestling and cage work that we did.
Yeah.
It was one of those I got real excited and kind of expected to be met more towards the middle of the cage, and where I should have just stopped, I kind of overran that and then went immediately into wrestling, which, I got to showcase my wrestling, my grappling, which I typically haven't been able to do in my previous fights. I've done more defensive type work as far as grappling.
Yeah.
So, the high note in that is, hey, look, I can grapple.
Yeah.
So
when watching the replay, I know you're paying attention more to yourself, but did you listen to any of what like the commentator said? Like, do you disagree or agree with anything that they were saying?
I like that they call me a perpetual motion machine.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, I think towards the end of the first round, they said I was a perpetual motion machine because I don't stop moving. But that's how we train.
Going,
yeah. A lot of fighters, they don't train the way we do with the intensity that we do, and we don't get tired. That's not part. I think Sean would disown us if we got tired because we didn't train hard enough. So, yeah, we're always moving, always working, because if I'm doing something, that means they either have to defend or counter it.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to stop just because I might not be in the best position.
Right.
The commentary was fine. Like, I didn't really, and nothing really stood out.
Okay.
I know, like, compared to like my first fight where the commentary was just, I don't know what they were talking about.
Right.
I've been lucky the fights, from 2 and now, first professional fight, the commentary team actually has some sort of either martial arts background or they've, done commentary before. So that's always nice that like they understand, like, hey, we're in half guard or something like that. And, what would I do if I was in that position? What would, they offer, like what they would do if, if they were in my position or her position. And I like listening to the stuff like that. Kind of like when you hear like Joe Rogan because he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, or you have
that's why they have
like Dominic Cruz or DC on. You have people, or Paul Felder. You have people that actually really know what's going on in the cage because they've been there. Right.
And that's why the guys were like listening to DC and stuff, because they could hear him talking. And they were like, DC, where's my advice or whatever? They're trying to listen to him talk because there's no fans or anything.
Yeah,
But in your case, it was packed.
Yeah, it was packed. Like, it was, you could still easily hear both corners. I have no problem ever hearing my corner.
Yeah.
Like, I'm tuned into, what Sean's saying and stuff like that. And like, you hear her corner, and there were some people on our side that were, yelling out advice to her and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, you hear it, but you know what to filter in, filter out.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I'm used to it. I'm used to jiu-jitsu. Same thing. It's like when people call out stuff that's a little bit too obvious,
Yeah.
it tends to hurt the fighter
Yeah.
more so than help them because, okay, well, you're telling them to go do something. I'm going to then stop them from doing that.
Right. That makes sense.
And that's why Sean's
punch her now.
Yeah.
Like,
Or throw knees or whizzer or underhook or this or that. Like, and that's why Sean's, he doesn't coach in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he does, then you're kind of laying on to what you want to do.
Do you guys have like codes?
For some combination, yeah.
Okay. Do you switch them up every fight or you keep them the same?
I mean, it depends. Like, there's certain combos that we work because of of a particular fighter, because we know it would work better.
Yeah.
And then there's some that we've just had, going for a while now, so we keep them the same. I mean, we've never actually used them.
Yeah.
But
okay.
we use it more for like warm-ups and stuff like that.
Right.
It's easier for him just to call it this, and I know what the combo is.
Okay.
But it's never gotten to the point to use him in the fight, especially this fight, because it was so much cage and groundwork.
Yeah.
I didn't really get a chance to do any of the long striking combos that we practiced for 12 weeks.
Right. Exactly. But hey, you can always use that for another fight, though.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And they're not combinations that's like, oh, well, they're out the window now for the next one.
Yeah.
They're just combos that flow well with me.
Right.
And, we give them goofy nicknames and stuff because now, I don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
So we name them after Larry and stuff like that.
Right.
Because I know that combo works on Larry.
Right.
So
besides your win, like, what would be your most memorable moment throughout this whole trip?
throughout the trip or throughout the entire fight camp? Or both?
Yeah, let's do both. Say both. Like something different that you learned or, I don't know, something like that.
I mean, as far as like the fight goes, my last two amateur fights were essentially pro rules, but at 3 minutes. So in the grand scheme of things, as far as like the fight goes and the rules, wasn't much different. It was just, okay, now instead of 3 minutes, we're going 5 minutes. So, I mean, there's definitely that focus on that cardio and making sure that was there because we go for, we have to be prepared for all 3 rounds, obviously.
Yeah.
I think the big standout is being able to say I'm the first professional female representing Delaware.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's cool.
there's a couple other girls that were getting close, and I just the way things worked out, I get to claim that title before anyone else. Representing Delaware Gym, because not technically from Delaware, but I'm living here, and I've been out of a gym for almost 8 years now. So it's crazy to think that I get to be the first in that, and I got to claim a bunch of other firsts for Triton.
Yeah.
Given that it was their first pro card, being the first pro female to enter the cage, and again, that part of that was just luck with the way the card got set up.
Right.
We got to be the first female fight, and being blue corner, you go out first. So I got to claim, going out to the cage first and being part of the first female pro fight, getting the first finish or submission win for the night, as well as female submission finish win.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool too. So a lot of firsts for the first state.
And your first submission.
Yeah, my first submission. That was pretty cool. Honestly, it's one of those, like, if you hunt submissions too much, you get too overly focused.
Yeah. So
we weren't crazy, worried about that. We definitely knew we wanted to get a finish. But to be able to get to actually get a submission was really cool, especially because I never had that in my amateur career. So to kick off my pro career with a finish, let alone my first submission one, was fantastic.
So what's going through your mind, like after you get hit a little bit, after you hit her a little bit, do you
Sorry, coffee went down the wrong.
Do you kind of like try and guess what she's gonna do, but like, okay, I see where you're going with that, or like you guess her like mentality, be like, oh, she's not there, like, you know what I mean? She's tired, she's weak, like not just with this fight, but with any fight.
I mean,
do you try and guess that at all, or?
No, I mean, if I'm doing that, then I'm thinking too much.
Yeah.
I mean, I go out there to execute my game plan, and that's my focus.
Right.
If I'm worried about her getting tired, then I'm not worried about what I'm supposed to be doing. There's certain things like, okay, like I can feel like their strength level, or like I can feel if they start getting fatigued. Like you recognize that,
Yeah.
But that's not your sole focus. Like you recognize it to then continue to execute your game plan. Like, okay, so they're tired, or maybe their mouth's open or something like that. Let me throw an uppercut or something like you use it to help, but that's not your sole focus there.
Right.
Because you don't want to get yourself out of that flow state or like that zone mentality.
Yeah.
Because the minute you start worrying about them, you're not worrying about you.
Right.
And that's you know.
I think when I was watching, and I think it was towards the end of, like the middle of the first and second round, where she was sitting down and she went like this, and she looked over at you, and I was like, she's done, man. Like, I think that the minute that you do that, because it reminded me of like one of the Rocky movies, where the dude's looking over at him, like he just keeps looking at him. You know what I mean? To see what he's doing. I'm like, I think if you do that moment I saw her look at you, I was like, yeah, Becca's got this. You know what I mean? I don't know how it was gonna happen, but I just knew, like, I think mentally that girl was struck a certain way. But and that comes from me. Like, I've seen that. You know, I've been around athletes for a long time, and I've played sports. I've been around sports my whole life. And when I see that, I could kind of tell when someone's mentally just not there anymore. Going into it, yeah, everyone's going to be that way. Everyone wants to win. Everyone wants to get a knockout when you first go in. But once you get that first hit, and that really tells you, like, oh shit, can I do this?
Get in, get out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, even if you watch, like, I love watching the professional fights. Like, if you watch like a UFC, especially if it's like the main card where they actually used to like mic up the corners and stuff like that, you can tell a lot about a fighter, especially if it goes beyond that first round, how they're feeling.
Yeah.
Like you can see it in their eyes and their body language. And I think if you're watching fight tape, that's just as important watching them on the stool than it is whatever that they're doing during the round.
Yeah.
You get a lot. Are they frustrated? Are they tired? Are they upset? What's going through, and then is that a consistent thing throughout their fight? So it's just as important to see them between rounds as it is during the rounds. Mm-hmm. And I mean, like, we don't sit down because I don't, you practice how you want to perform. Mm-hmm. I don't sit down during rounds and when we're sparring. So that's another big thing too. Like, I know they said that in the commentary that I wasn't sitting down. Like, yeah. I never sit down. So
right.
Because to me, I mean, if you sit down and then when you get back up, like, you feel how tired you are.
And I never even realized that. I thought it was more of like a scare tactic or intimidation thing.
No, I mean, I don't do it in sparring.
Yeah.
Why am I going to do it in the fight? Like, it's why change it for the fight?
Right.
Because
I forget who it was. Was it they were explaining it to me? They were like, yeah, you know how like if you had like a hard workout and you sat down, like you don't want to get back up.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, you're right. I go through that all the time.
Like if you're doing legs or something, then you have to go back to squats. And
it was Heather. Okay.
But it's like, I mean, some people, yeah, it might intimidate other people. Like, oh my gosh, she's not sitting down. But I mean, it's just, I don't do it.
Yeah.
I don't need it. And, it's the same thing as like when we walk out, I'm not hugging my corners or anything. It's just, that's for after. I'm not, a huggy kind of person.
Right.
And because when I was getting my, they put Vaseline on your face before he went, he gives you get 5 touches. I was like, nah, I'm good.
I don't need no touches.
Right? I was like, I don't care.
Nah, I'm good.
No, like we've just never done that. That's never been like
I was in a van with them all the way here, so yeah. I'm good.
I'm around them all the time. They get a hug afterwards.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I'm not a big hugger. I'm not a I don't know, super affectionate person.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but
and you do your tie thing where you're like that.
Yeah, before you take the Mongol off, you do a little bow.
Yeah.
That's about as far as we go because we don't, do the tie prayers or anything. But
right.
I do that. That's about as close as we get.
What I was thinking? I was like, I don't see a lot of amateurs that are like well versed in that kind of thing. That see it as like an art.
Well, that's the difference between a fighter and a martial artist.
Right.
Not all fighters are martial artists. Put it that way.
Yeah.
I think there's a clear distinction between the two. Mm-hmm. And I think martial artists can be fighters, but not all fighters are martial artists.
Right, I agree.
And you see just in general how people carry themselves
Mm-hmm.
and the way that they actually respect the art
Yeah.
or arts with MMA.
And they respect the cage in general when they like bow before they go in or they do something before they enter the cage. You know, they respect the vicinity.
Yeah, and like that's part of the reason I bow before I get in the cage. Like I don't, that to me, like I don't do it all the time getting on and off that mat. But I actually kind of picked that one up from Rousey because she was talking about in her book that's kind of her nod to the traditional martial arts. I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. I kind of stole that from her.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I always bow before I get in the cage because I want to always present myself as a martial artist first and a fighter.
Right.
Because I think given my position at the karate school, like I'm a role model as well.
Yeah.
And I want to show them that martial arts can take you to here.
Right. So what is your mindset kind of like getting ready to go into a fight, you know, because you get like pretty intense, you know, like this fight you chose to like go with, I'm going to take her soul. I'm like, dear Lord, you know what I mean? Like, where does your mind go? Does it go to somewhere different than you are as like a regular person?
Yeah, I mean, like to me, a fight camp means not just being disciplined, but it's like being disciplined to the nth degree. Like it needs to be over the top.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, I need to be doing anything and everything to get ready for this fight. I never want to look back and say, yeah, you could have done that, and that may have helped.
Mm-hmm.
Like I never want to look back and have to say that. So the Taking Souls thing is actually a David Goggins thing. I've re-listened to his book because I was not feeling quite as disciplined as I normally did. Mm-hmm. And part of it really came down to I didn't have to cut as much weight. And I had a lot more time to cut the weight. So there's something to be said about that, being super strict on the weight cut. And then I'm like, well, I don't have to be. So like I kind of felt like something was missing.
Yeah.
So I started re-listening to his book, and he offers all these different challenges and stuff. And one of the chapters is on taking souls. And that's where that came from is, you make the person do what you want to do. You take their soul.
Right.
And that was kind of the way that we saw the fight and how it needed to go. Like, for example, after that first round, I took her soul. It was mine. At that point, I won that fight. Yeah. It was just how do we finish it at that point?
And I think that's what she did when she looked at you. She said, "Did she just take my soul?"
And then that's where it came from. And that, it's that, there's nothing emotional about it, but that's why, to us, this was a business trip. Yeah. We got in, took the soul, we got out. Like, we didn't get a chance to really hang out in Florida or do anything. We went to a lot of Harley Davidson dealerships and stuff like that. But, that's, David Goggins obviously explained the whole process more so, but it was really with that I was like, this makes sense. This is what clicks for this fight. Yeah. So that's why it sounded a little extreme, but there's a reason behind it. There's, a fairly educated reason behind it. But yeah, like, I mean, I think fight camps need to be disciplined and that much more. And I'm that much more like, everything needs to be in line and perfect. And I don't know if it's like the OCD coming out at me, my, probably third amateur fight, second amateur fight, I started listening to a lot more of, like Jocko and stuff like that and his books and, make your bed every day sort of thing. And that continue on is that little discipline. You start your day by making your bed. It's just one little thing, one task to check off. And I like having, being able to check off my to-do list and stuff like that. And it also helped with, balancing that whole, training schedule, but full-time work schedule. Yeah. Is being able to be disciplined at work and get my work stuff done and having that balance between that and, okay, now we're going to train and now we're going to do cardio or strength and conditioning or drilling or, whatever, and being able to be disciplined on that without, one overrunning too much into the other. Right.
So you would say, so if you look back at your life before fighting, like doing things in your everyday life, how has fighting changed your discipline in just your everyday life from then into now? Would you say you're more disciplined now than because of fighting?
I mean, I don't think I was disciplined really before.
Okay.
Because if I took the approach to training that I have now, and just even if like day-to-day training, not even like fight camp training, I think, looking back to like high school, I should have been 10 times the cross country runner that I was. Or even after high school when I started doing marathons, I could have probably run way faster.
Right.
And obviously a lot of that's just, it takes time to train and, you do that. But I didn't have the same discipline. And it comes down to discipline over motivation because motivation comes and goes.
Right.
Discipline is what stays.
Mm-hmm.
And I think over the past year, given the quarantine and pandemics and stuff, motivation wasn't always there. And I had to really teach myself. Even the past year, I think I've become much more disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
And in the past year, being able to go through that and teach myself to keep, we got to do this because the goal is bigger than how we're feeling today.
Right.
And, I think Jocko's thing is discipline equals freedom.
Right.
And all of your great, Instagram influencers and stuff like that, they'll say the same thing. Like the ones that, do bodybuilding and stuff, it all comes down to discipline. It's not motivation.
Yep.
That day to day is the discipline. And martial arts is, and as myself as a martial artist, that's one of the first things you learn is self-discipline. Right. And being more intrinsically motivated to do things, which comes from the discipline.
Right. And it's all good it's good for the long term, especially when you have a goal in mind. Because then say like you don't want to wake up in the morning. Be like, okay, if I don't want to wake up in the morning, I guess I don't really want to be a UFC fighter that bad. Or I don't want to be a professional whatever that bad. Or I don't want to run a business that bad. Stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because that's what I always think of when I don't want to do something. I tell myself that. I'm like, oh, well, okay, you don't want it that bad then.
No, I agree. And that was always in my mind because, I'm getting up crazy early in the morning and it's like, I want more sleep, but the goal is bigger. Yeah. Goal is bigger than feeling tired because as soon as I get up 10, 15 minutes, okay, I'm going to be awake. Right. You just got to turn that light on, get out of bed, make your bed, and you get on with your day. Yeah. Sometimes it requires a little extra pre-workout in the morning, but you just sometimes you get it done. Yeah. And usually, there's very few times during a fight camp that say I go lift or something, and I'm like, usually if I didn't want to and I went and did it, and I still have a good lift. Yeah. Very rarely I'm I'm still tired, but usually that's something else that's going on. Right. You eat a little bit more or something, but it's the goal is bigger than everything else.
Do you because I know me and you are both believers in these kind of things. So you mentioned the make your bed thing. So that's one of those kind of what is it? What do they call them? Things to success or something like that. Keys to success. The keys to success or something like that. Start making your bed, whatever. You know what I mean? Do you follow any other of those things?
Loosely, and part of it's from, I'm trying to pick up stuff from the David Goggins challenges and stuff like that. Yeah. And he issues little challenges, doing certain to-do lists or making, kind of setting your goals out and things like that. So, yes, not in a super rigid manner, but I've definitely added things here and there slowly but surely, but keeping the consistency. Making my bed now. If I don't make my bed, it makes me feel awful. Right now, my bed is not made because I had to change the sheets and stuff, and I know that my bed is not made, and it's really bothering me because I know it's one of those things, and it's the same thing that's packing my bag the night before and just being prepared and ready to go, and setting myself up for success the next day, right? That kind of stuff. Having to-do lists and actually, the idea of extreme ownership, that's another Jocko thing, of just kind of stepping up and taking control of it. That's really helped both in my training, but a lot with work as well.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing with me. When I started bodybuilding, it completely changed my whole life. Whereas, I didn't care about anything. I didn't want to do anything. I had no discipline. But then bodybuilding led me to this whole new world of discipline. It was wild, And, but then I just kept using that stuff. Morning routine is my big one. I need a morning routine. I'm a very routine kind of person. If I'm just all willy-nilly, then I'm going to screw up. Or I'm just going to I'm not going to do the things I need to do.
Yeah, same. I hate not having a routine. Like, even, like, on my weekends, I have a routine.
Yeah.
And the days that I don't, like, say, like, around the holidays and stuff, I hate the holidays because it throws me off my routine.
Oh, they screw it up. Yeah.
And it just, I don't want to say it, like, gives me anxiety, but I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
Because then I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? Like, I feel, like, it makes me feel lazy, but, and that's where, like, martial arts has also brought in that, it's given me such a routine. Like,
Yeah.
I wake up, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I teach a class, and then after that class, I go and do work, or on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I go straight to work. But every weeknight, I'm going and I'm training or I'm teaching or something, and that, I have the same schedule in fight camp, out of fight camp.
Yeah.
And same thing on Saturdays, like my whole Saturday morning until 2:30 is training or teaching.
Yeah.
And then I can, then I set stuff up for the weekends. But the busier I am, the better I tend to be.
Right.
On days that I don't give myself something to do,
Yeah.
that's when I will board eat or
Yeah.
just not be productive in some sort of a way.
Right.
I mean, I've been doing this personal trainer course thing, and that's been my Sunday thing.
Yeah.
Is I do a little bit of studying, I'm reading, and like I really enjoyed it just for the actual learning point.
Right.
I don't plan on training clients or anything.
Right.
But just being able to kind of have that in my background as an instructor.
Mm-hmm.
But just being able to sit down and read and have structure of, okay, I have to read this, and then I'm going to do an activity, and then I'm going to do a discussion question, and then I'm going to take a quiz.
Yeah.
Like, I like having that for my Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
And days that, I don't have anything going on, then I go and do my Amazon Flex driving.
Right.
And that keeps me busy for 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, there
and I
you
can
go.
make money that way. So the days that I don't, I tend to be, I don't want to say destructive, but I can be counterproductive and, that's where like the laziness will come out when I don't have something. So I'm better when I'm too busy than when I'm not.
Oh, right.
Especially during a fight camp. Like that's part of my discipline thing too, is like I need to have everything marked out for the day and have that schedule every single day.
Oh,
or,
yeah.
I go nuts.
Yeah, because you also have that goal that's far ahead that you're shooting for. You know what I mean? I think it's harder when you don't have a goal, which has been my struggle. But for the past month, I've been like on my discipline like crazy. And like I chose one day out of the week where I'm just going to eat whatever I want because it helps me mentally. And then I use that as fuel for my next workout.
Yeah, and
you know what I mean? So I know it doesn't just like, it's not because I'm lazy. I'm going to use it for my body to utilize it.
Yeah, and like that's where like I started, from your advice, is having that refeed meal when I needed it, and that really helped, especially the last month for my cut. I was already at weight.
Yeah.
Which when I was talking to the pre-fight, the doctor for the pre-fight physical, he's like, "Oh, how's your weight cut?" I'm like, "I've been sitting fine for the past 3-4 weeks."
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, "I've actually been eating more," which kind of threw me out of my loop because I'm like, I'm not used to eating this much.
Right.
But I was still, either very, doing a little bit of weight loss or fluctuating just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I stayed right with the goal. I weighed in like 4 pounds light. But even now that, this is my cheat week, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want to do it. Like, I don't feel good.
Yeah.
Like, I know, like, yes, it's going to, like, help me with my lifts and stuff. But, like, I can't wait till, I'm like, okay, I'm going to finish up these, snacks and stuff that people have given me. But I'm like,
Right.
All right, it's out of my system. Like, I'm good with going back to, once a week having that meal where I can, eat whatever I want, or, not having to worry about, oh, if I eat this. But, like, my mentality's better, I think, because I was in a 12-week cut.
Yeah.
And it was a less strict 12-week cut.
Right.
Where I had some more flexibility to eat more and eating better things and trying different things and see, and saw it worked for me. Where like now I'm like, okay, I'm done with eating cookies and candy and stuff. I'm like, I need to go back to eating regular food.
Yeah.
Like I'm ready to start, going through that sugar withdrawal and then, getting back to normal.
So it's talking about your weight cut, like we just saw that one girl in the UFC like fainted, and then the next day she said she was healthy. I was like, bro, come on. For like, how I feel about it. You know what I mean? And people could say like, oh, well, bodybuilding's not the same, blah, blah. I know. I'm not using bodybuilding stuff and taking it over. I'm not doing that.
Bodybuilding's harsher.
The mentality in bodybuilding is that you should be ready a week or a week and a half before the show starts. I feel the same way for a fight. I feel like you should already be ready You should be ready to be at that weight. You know what I mean? Unless you're taking, like, I saw one dude took like the fight like 9 days. They told him like 9 days.
It was like 9 days or 2 weeks. Pat Sabatini, where his opponent weighed in like 15 pounds heavy or something. It was a couple weeks ago. He's actually a guy out of Philly.
But there's a guy on the Triton fights.
Oh yeah. There's a guy that took they
gave him like 9 days notice.
Yeah, there's a couple guys. I think
he won in like the first round.
Well, he also went up a weight class.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah. There's one of the guys took the fight on like 2 or 3 weeks notice.
Right.
But he was up a weight class higher than what he normally fought at.
Okay.
So like his weight still wasn't like, it wasn't a crazy cut.
Right.
But Pat Sabatini, he's a UFC fighter. He took the fight, I think, less than 2 weeks notice. He made weight for his regular weight class, and then his opponent came in like 14 pounds heavy with a full fight camp. And they're like, yeah, no. I'm like, you know the week of if you're going to make weight or not. And that's why, like, we both agree on this, that cutting water weight is, I think, ridiculous.
Right.
I mean, do I cut water? Yeah. Do I cut like 5 pounds? And that's like an easy, like, hour sweat out session, if that. Like, that's easy. Like, that doesn't take a whole lot of effort and then doesn't, deplete me of everything.
Right.
Where some people are cutting, 10 plus pounds.
Yeah.
Which I think is, like, I've done the attempt for 10. And it was obviously, like, I didn't play with my sodium or anything like that. And, like, it sucked. Like, I just wanted to see if I could do it, which I don't know how many people actually go through water cuts just to do water cuts. But, if that was more of a, okay, if I ever need to take a short nose fight and had to cut more water, I know I can do that. But I think
people are still in that old way of thinking that wrestlers used to do back in the day. You know what I mean? And it doesn't have to be like that. Because I also think that it comes from a little bit of laziness and procrastination.
Oh, yeah.
Because you don't want to diet. You want to eat what you want to eat, but then, I'll just drop water. Like I heard Ben Askren talking the other day, and they talked about him making weight. He was like, I'll just drop water. Like, I'm fine.
And that's, again, you're talking to a wrestler. But a lot of fighters, I feel like they think they're going to be too depleted during their training if they have to diet.
Yeah.
Well, if you do it right, then no. Like,
that's why we lifted heavier towards the end.
Yeah, I was hitting PRs on my lifts.
That's what I'm saying.
And I know I could do more.
Right.
Like, given what I was doing in sparring and what I was doing, lift-wise, like, I was hitting PRs that, it was kind of back. Like, I think the way that we trained for this fight was, it had me just so on point.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I agree. It's the laziness and it's the lack of discipline. Mm-hmm. I mean, does cutting suck? Yeah.
Yeah.
But did I ever feel like, there's a couple of days here and there, like I felt, probably did too much. Mm-hmm. So I ate a little bit more. Yeah. But it was okay. Right. Like I went over calories that day. But one day, out of the grand, scheme of things, it's not like I was doing it every day. Mm-hmm. And my weight would fluctuate a little bit. But, eventually this came back down. So it's like, I don't know. I'd rather diet than shock my body 24 hours before I'm supposed to fight.
Exactly.
When my body's already in that, that diet mode, so to speak. Right. Like it's really no difference other than, oh, hey, now we're getting a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Yeah. Now I'm going to do really well. Yeah. Because now I'm introducing things in a good way. Right. And like adding the carbs in, the 24 hours before, where I'm going to use that later. Right. Or that loaf and a half of bread I ate at lunch. Right. Balance. I had a salad with it.
Yeah, and it's like they're so scared to diet and because they'll get weaker throughout their camps or whatever like that. I'm like, one, you're probably not doing it right. Two, do you think you're not going to be weak from just cutting water and almost fainting on the scale? You think you would just like replenish in a day? That's not going to happen.
You're messing with your body so much where you're going dehydration. Your body's going like, what the hell is happening to? Okay, here's a bunch of liquid and electrolytes, and then you're expecting it to perform to peak performance? No.
Yeah, it's a weird thing.
It blows my mind, but it's just, and then you get a lot of people who even, they have nutritionists, I'm using quotes here. Right. And they're okay with them, cutting 10, 15 pounds in water. Mm-mm. I'm like, no. I mean, like, I came in light because I was open.
Because you were scared to eat.
I'm one of those. I will. The day I miss weight is the day I lose the like that. it's unprofessional.
Right.
And even as an amateur, I conduct myself as a professional.
Right.
Weight will never be an issue for me. If I'm close to it, then yeah, I would be vocal and say, hey, I can't make that weight. I need to go, you know what I mean? But, and you know, obviously I was fighting up a weight class compared to what I normally do. So like I didn't have to cut any water or anything. But the day of, you know, I had 2 hard-boiled eggs and I had coffee, which is a lot more than I normally would do.
Right.
But it was still like, oh, I don't like, you know, you never know how the scale is going to be.
Right.
So I remember I stepped on the scale and the guy from the commission was like, you're really light. I'm like, is that an issue? I'm like, I can go eat. Give me like 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'll go eat something.
I'll go eat something. He's like, no, you're good. I'm like, then cool.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, I felt good.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'd rather do that than, because there's some fighters too that eat like fried food right after. I'm like, how does your stomach not hurt? I'm like, you're about to, like, you're putting in a bunch of fat and stuff. Like, I had to be careful eating turkey pepperoni because I had too much fat in it and that bothered my stomach. Or even having a little bit of dairy with like yogurt and stuff. I had to stop doing that because I hadn't had dairy for so long. Like, there's certain things I just don't mess with. And like, I continue, I mean, I add in some like extra carbs, but like, I'm not going nuts after weigh-ins. That's for after the fight. Then I can celebrate. Then I can, you know, my Girl Scout cookies and stuff like that. I eat that junk food. But like, I've seen people eat French fries and pizza and stuff after weigh-ins.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
like,
too much.
no. I'm like, how are you not gonna like just explode?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. I know I sound like a broken record talking about bodybuilding, but that's what I was in, and that's how I can compare it. Whereas when I had a coach, you know, we dieted all the way up to the show, and before I went on stage, here, eat this fried chicken, eat this burger. I'm like, huh? I know you're trying to shock the body, but what? I was like, why would I be dieting this whole time, and then at the last minute just throw this stuff in it? It never made sense to me. So my philosophy was always been like, stick with what you were on.
Yeah.
You know, you've been eating this way the whole time. Why switch it up now?
It's the same thing, like, you know, when I was training for marathons. You don't do anything different on race day than you did with your practice runs.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with fighting. Why change it up on fight day compared to your regular sparring day? Like, the time that we went on, it was our normal, like, sparring time. So I'm like, this is just like sparring.
Yeah.
So I treated my day like a regular, normal day. Like, I even went and did a morning workout the day of the fight. Like, real light intensity, but it's like my body's used to doing X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Why change it?
Right.
So I went down, instead of running, I did like a little walk run thing and did some shadow boxing and stretching and stuff. But it's like I still got myself like worked up and had a sweat. But it's like my body I know what my body needs. And that's, you know, I need to do a little bit of cardio in the morning and treat it just like anything else. I wanted to perform the exact same way I was doing, felt great in sparring, so keep it the same.
Yeah. Talk more about the NASM thing that you're doing.
Yeah, so back Black Friday, they were having a big sale for a certified personal trainer certificate thing. That's been floating around in my mind for a while, but price was kind of part of the reason.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not looking to, you know, start like a personal training regime or clients or anything like that, but I wanted it for kind of 2 reasons. One, I was just interested. Like, I like learning, and I wanted, you know, I'm one of those people that wants to go out and learn, so why not take a course and get certified at the same time? But at the same time, being an instructor, there are certain times, like, yes, we're doing squats and, you know, more strength and conditioning type of stuff, along with martial arts. So I wanted to have something that kind of backed that up. Like, you know, I was trained to do it this way, and that's why, like, you know, have something that kind of says, you know, yes, I have experience as a martial artist, but, oh, hey, here's also this certificate here if I ever did, like, pad work with someone.
Right.
So I can offer that as well. So I just wanted to be, I don't know, I just wanted more certification. I wanted more...
right. And I mean, it only helps you, and it also covers your ass.
Yeah,
you know,
and that's
if
the
something
thing.
were to happen. Right.
And that's the thing. That's what I wanted. I wanted something that, you know, oh, well, I got hurt doing this. Well, this is how they taught me how to do it. You know, that removes some of the liability, but it also provides, I can't think of the word I want to use, just that extra bit of, like, recognition to myself. Like, Sean has, you know, black belts and everything.
Right.
And he's taken courses, you know, a lot of different courses for instruction and stuff like that. So this was kind of like my way of kind of rounding myself out. Like, yes, I'm a professional fighter, but I also made sure that I went through a course and trained on certain things.
Right.
Same thing with like Muay Thai. Like I'm a certified Muay Thai trainer under the Ministry of Thailand. Like I'm going through, like I have certificates of things. I just, build things to build my credentials.
Right.
So that's what the main reason of doing that. I'm not going to like leave you or, start my own strength and conditioning. That's just silly.
I'm not too worried about it.
No. I'll come back to you in a day. But yeah, so that's why I was doing that. And I take my test next Friday, which is online, which is really cool.
Is that like the overall?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's an actual, like, I've taken, like, so I did the guided study. So, like, it forces you to read, whatever chapters for each week. And you do a discussion question, you do activity along with it, and you take a quiz. And they have a midterm and a final. And after that, that's when you could fail the whole thing if you really wanted to and then go take the test. But I paid a little bit extra, so I had that. So, because I knew I needed that structure.
Right.
Otherwise, I'd be reading the book and just nothing would be processing the same way. So I went with that, and then you can schedule your exam really at any point, and they usually suggest within like 2 weeks of ending the course. For me, it's a little bit longer because I didn't want to take it before the fight, and I didn't want to take it the week after the fight in case, sometimes your brain gets a little bit shook. So I settled for the 9th is when I'm taking it in the morning. So I'm going to be, studying the rest of the week and just kind of refreshing myself with everything.
Yeah.
But I did pretty well on their final. So I'm not crazy worried.
Yeah.
And along with the guided study, you also get an automatic retake if you need it. So
right.
Doing that, and from there, like I have to keep, continuing education credits. So I think the next one I'm going to do is for youth sports.
Yeah.
So I can use it with the kids in class because they all struggle with like push-ups and things like that. So, and kids are not just mini adults. They're, they have to train a little bit different too.
Right.
So I'm looking at like doing things like that, maybe nutrition, just, things that, they interest me. Like I really like that stuff. So why not, learn about it?
No, exactly. And everyone learns different too. Like I couldn't even tell you. I think I had like 3 or 4 of those kind of certifications. And the one I actually went to school for, I went to Vegas and all that kind of stuff, which is fun. But I don't think I learned more than I did like through experience and YouTube videos, like following like some power lifters, that the guys that have been in it, that have squatted like over 1,000 pounds and stuff like that, like showing like mobility and all these different things. And that's a weird thing too, is just like guys like that, you think, oh, they just lift stuff up and put it down. Dude, they know about stretching, they know about mobility, they know about flexibility. It's so much stuff. But no, I attribute that to like, even though like you learn different than me. I learned the basics from those tests and stuff like that, and they got me a job in the gym. But once I was in the gym and I was trying to do that stuff, a person came along, say like a pregnant woman came, and I was like, oh, I don't know how to.
There's legitimately like maybe 2 pages on that in that entire textbook.
Right. And it's just like, and they tell you a couple things you can and can't do. So I did that, and it ended up working out for me. But still, it doesn't go in depth with certain things. And I've gotten to train from ages like 12 to, what was the dude, like almost 90. Like it's been wild. But no, for you, that's great, because then you just learn, especially for training yourself.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff that I learned from that. Like a lot of the stuff I've learned from you already. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like going through the book and stuff. And then certain things like on stretching, like you don't want to do like the stag stretching before you're going to do something. Before you work out or do something explosive. I'm like, man, I've been doing that before on my fights. Who knows how much power that took from me.
Do dynamic stretching. So
that's why I started switching to his dynamic stretching. And because if you think about it, like before I spar, I'm doing another class, which is more dynamic. So it's like I'm not doing stretching then. But before the fight and stuff, I was making sure I was doing, more of like our Muay Thai warm up where it's dynamic and it's getting things loose and stuff like that. And, I look back to other fights. I'm like, man, what if I could have had so much more power? Who knows how much power, you lose. But like little things like that, like that's what I found really interesting. And like you said, like these types of programs essentially get you a job in the gym. But a lot of it is, you have to build up your own experience. And a lot of it's like I've learned from you, and I've actually started following more like bodybuilder influencers on Instagram.
Yeah.
Which I think is different than a lot of fighters do. Because a lot of fighters look at weightlifting as, oh, I'm going to get too bulky and I'm going to get bulky and I'm going to get slow. But we both know, well, that's if you train that way.
If you train, right.
I mean, for me, I love weightlifting. I probably weightlift more than most fighters do. I'm weightlifting 5 or 6 times a week.
Right.
You know, I train differently. It's not like I'm doing powerlifting all the time,
Right.
but I enjoy weightlifting. Like that to me is therapeutic.
It is.
But I've also built up a lot more strength in the past year doing that kind of stuff.
Right.
So I think that's a lot different because a lot of, you know, oh, well, I'll do my deadlifts and I'll do, you know, bench, but that's all I'm doing. Like,
why?
or, oh, now that I went up a weight class, I can do more weightlifting. No, if you weightlift, you burn more calorie. Like,
Yeah.
it's silly.
I think another thing too, especially in the MMA community, what I see a lot is a lot of the functional stuff. You know, they talk about like deadlift or squat or bench press not being functional. It's like you got to add some weird sideways step to it, or you got to add some weird thing to it, you know, some rotation or something like that. And I think, yeah, if you do it as like a power lifter, yeah, your body's gonna, like, for me, I'm not very functional, but it's because I do those movements all the time. You know what I mean? But it's like when I'm training you, I do different variations, you know? So then that way we're hitting different parts of the same muscle, you know, or we're working on your strength when you throw a punch, or when you like rotation, just throwing a ball coming around your shoulder or something like that. Just different things like that. But I think just training functional is not going to do a lot. You know what I mean? I think you do need to add some like weight training in there, and I think you need to mix it up. I think doing one thing a lot isn't good for anything, no matter what you're doing. You know, I think you need to do a little bit of everything and stick your toe in the water, you know, every little pond.
Yeah, like I know, like we switched things up. I think this fight camp a little bit, not greatly, but you know, we changed things up to you know, because we knew we had the time, and you know, there were some weaknesses from the past fight. And normally we would train together twice a week, but we stuck to it once a week. And then I had a different program going on during the week. And I think that really helped balance a lot of things out. That, and I've done a significant more amount of weightlifting since the pandemic, just because I'm working from home. Right. So now that I'm not driving 3 hours a day, I'm spending more of that time weightlifting. So I've been able to build a better base going into that fight camp too. Yeah. And like I said, I think fighters don't, I think there's a lot of misconceptions about weightlifting. Yeah. And I think you'd probably see healthier fighters if they weightlifted more.
I think you would.
Because they wouldn't have to be cutting all this weight.
Right.
Like, I mean, like, the weight literally melted off of me, and I was ready within 8 weeks. Right. Like, I could have gone down to the next weight class if I wanted to.
You were still lifting heavy.
Yeah. Like, I've never felt stronger.
Probably heavier than you have in the past.
Yeah. I mean, PR'd on my deadlift. Right. And I know, I mean, we did more reps for, like, bench and stuff, but I know, like, I know at some point during the fight camp, I think I did bench by myself, and I was like, oh, I think that, like, I tied, like, my PR or something like that. So it's like, I don't know, I think we have a good balance of what I do. Yeah. Like, I did not feel like I overtrained at all during this camp. Right. Like I said, 1 or 2 days here and there, but overall, like, I had my cardio down, I had my weightlifting down, and then my other drilling, just kind of class and sparring stuff. I never felt like I was, like, dying in sparring. Yeah. Because I had done too much of something else.
Yeah. So how do you decompress, like, after a fight? You know what I mean? Like, your adrenaline has been through the roof. You know, you're worried about taking souls and killing people. And, like, how do you just, like, okay, you know, just let it go and just come back to your center, you know?
I don't know. Like, this one was a lot different. Like, I think because it was 12 weeks. Now, we did 12 weeks of, say, like, a weight cut, but I would say, like, we did a true, like, 7-week fight camp. Like, most of January and the start of February was more kind of just building a base. Right. But Sean also knew, like, he didn't need me burning out before the fight. And going into fight week, I was like, okay, like I'm ready. Like, say if this fight got pushed back 2 weeks, I think that would kind of like mentally mess with me a little bit, just because it was a little bit longer. Whereas like other fights are like, you get matched up like 7 weeks, 6, 7 weeks before you fight. So like half the time. So this one I was kind of ready, like, okay, like, like it's fight week, like I'm ready to go. Like it's time. But this is the first time that I'm like, okay, well, what's next?
Yeah.
Like I don't feel like I needed to decompress quite as much.
Okay.
Like I'm looking forward to just getting myself back to my regular routine. Then I have a grappling match coming up at the end of May, so that's something else for me to look forward to. That's not necessarily a true like fight camp, but it's something that something to work on and work towards, and have kind of in the horizon. So that's part of it. I mean, this fight, even like going back to the hotel afterwards, I had that energy drink and I was just like so awake, and so I started picking through the fight in my head. And then we had a whole, almost 20-hour car ride home the next day.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a lot of like, I got to be in my head a little bit more so than I usually do. And, just kind of relaxing. Just, I definitely felt way more relaxed the next day, where we were just kind of going from Harley dealership to Harley dealership on the way out.
Right.
For anyone that doesn't know, my coach collects Harley Davidson poker chips, and each dealership has their own unique poker chips. So we spent going down and going back up, hitting all the Harley dealerships that we could. We got to go on Disney Springs, so like I kind of went to Disney.
Yeah, a little bit.
We literally ran into Harley and ran back out, but
yeah,
it was kind of Disney.
Yeah, you should have went to Everglazed.
Heather texted me that.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. We went past some place that smelled like bacon. It smelled so good.
Oh.
I feel like they just pump all those smells in there.
Yeah.
But we had to get back on the road because there was an accident, and then we ended up going to Daytona Beach. So I can now say I went to Daytona Beach without really going to Daytona Beach.
Right.
Went past the Speedway, took some pictures.
Yeah.
In the car. It is what it is. It makes for good stories.
Yeah.
So yeah, so like I just that was kind of a relaxing. The drive really wasn't that bad. We rented the van. The van was comfortable. We got to joke around a lot. Like it was because we drove down and we had Jamie in the car too. Like it wasn't so like fight, but we got to like joke around and hang out.
Yeah.
And we had a good group of people down there. So like Leanne and Sam, my friends from Nashville, they came down. So it's like we had like a small group down there. Edwin came down too. And we got to just kind of like, we would do takeout dinners and we just hang out by the pool. Yeah. And it was just very relaxing, even like the day before the fight.
And a nice weather too.
Yeah, nice weather helped too. Yeah. It was 80, 90 degree days. Low humidity, surprisingly. Yeah. Like it wasn't too bad. But it was just like, it had more of a relaxing feel to it than what we normally would have. So that was nice too. And like you kind of kept that same like family feel going back up for another day.
Yeah.
Because we had that drive. And then, I took the day off, that Monday off of work, and then I got to come here and do Ultra Feast breakfast with Heather.
Yeah.
Which I didn't eat again until like 6 o'clock that night because I had so much food. Yeah. I felt so gross.
Yeah, I know. I kind of looked at it, I was like, damn, like she just ate all that. Like.
So Leanne's husband Sam.
I would have done the same thing.
Leanne's husband Sam only sees me after fights when I'm eating like a lot.
Yeah. And
so he's just so mesmerized by how much I can eat in one sitting.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, trust me, like this is not normal for me. It's just, week post fight, that's when I get to,
right.
Eat and stuff. But he's always amazing. He's like, you can eat a whole rack of ribs and you can do this. Because I've been getting like, when we went to Cracker Barrel the day that we left, I got like whatever the sampler thing was. And I was, I stopped talking and I was just eating and I was like inhaling the food. And I looked up at one point, everyone else was done and just staring at me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm almost done. I'm good. But like that, yeah, I think I inhaled breakfast that Monday.
Yeah.
But you guys, and being able to come see you guys and watch the reaction video, you guys made me cry. Knowing that, my step nieces and nephews and stuff were cheering for me and Tom holding Daisy and
it was fun. It was a good night. Not knowing what to expect though, that sucks. Yeah. Going into your fights and stuff like. And we're just like, okay, which side of Becca's going to be coming out? Like, is she going to be coming out hard? What's going to happen, And then once you came out, I was like, oh, shit. Here we go, And
Yeah, I
Nah,
won't.
this is crazy.
Yeah, and like this fight was a little bit different because it was kind of the same feeling I had before my first amateur fight of like my first amateur fight. My thought was like, what if I get hit and I just can't take it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if I didn't get hit hard enough in sparring?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when, like, in that first amateur fight, I got hit, and I was like, all right, we're good. Let's go.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, not I was worried about getting hit, but, like, there was a lot of, like, what ifs. Like, we didn't know exactly, like, how she was going to come out, for example. So it was always in the back of my mind, like what if I didn't prepare? What if I didn't do this? Or, so I was, not nervous. Nervous means something, to me, implies something bad.
Right.
But there was still that kind of, like, what if in the back of my mind. Mm-hmm. But then, like, the relief of just being done. Mm-hmm. Like, obviously, I was proud of my submission and everything, but it was over. Like, it was, like, that whole, like, it's almost like your muscles are so tense and then you're relaxed.
Right. You're like, okay, we did it.
There was, like, this crazy... And that's why, like, they're like, how do you feel? I'm like, this is, like, surreal. Yeah. It's, like, it was, like, a weight had been completely lifted off me. Like, I went in there, I accomplished my goal. And, looking... Obviously, now, I won and everything, and looking towards the future of like another fight and stuff. Like I'm in a comfortable position right now where I'm like really looking forward to it. But I know like going into it, I'll probably, there's always some sort of nerve or something, but like I feel more confident in myself, and that's what I think I needed. I was, maybe a little bit unsure, but, looking into the future that, I'm ready to take on the next challenge. But again, I'm also sitting at a very comfortable point where it's easy to say that. Right. That's something that David Goggins always talks about is, it's easy to say, something when you're comfortable and well fed and warm and everything like that versus, actually being in it. Right. So we'll see. And that's the fun part about fighting is like, you never know. Oh yeah. And, your underdog can always win and, anything can always happen. Right.
So what advice would you give someone to, not even someone, maybe like a young girl that's coming up, that wants to fight, or anyone that wants to fight? What advice would you give them kind of going into it? And it could be about anything, like what you need physically, what you need mentally, any type of those things.
You suck, train harder. Yeah. Like be realistic with yourself. You can always push more. You can always do more. You suck, train harder. I think a lot of people get, I don't know, too many compliments. Yeah. Like even in our gym, like if someone tells me good job, I'm like, no, tell me I suck. Tell me I train harder. Like that's motivating. And that's motivating to me. That's, I don't, but don't get comfortable. That's when you get complacent. And that's why, like, I know, like, looking at my fights and looking at, even though I won, like, I'm very critical of it. I'm not happy with it. Yeah. I'm happy for it for about 30 seconds. I won. But then I go back and I need to look at it and go, well, we messed up here. There's so much more room for improvement. And the day that I don't see that is the day I'm done. Yeah. That's the way I look at it. But you suck, train harder.
Yeah, I think the same way. I think people need to be more humble. I think, people look at the UFC too much. I think, coming up, they look at the UFC, they think they got to act that way. I'm like, bro, you're not selling tickets like they are. Like, like acting like that is not going to help you sell that in this.
Who are you?
Part of, exactly. That's what people are going to say.
And even looking at myself, I know I'm a nobody. I haven't, there's no big name. There's no, and I hope that's something that I hope to always have. I think that makes you train a little bit harder. Right. To, can always continue to improve yourself. But it's like, especially on the regional scene, even if you're for like a big, regional promotion or something, you're still a nobody. Right. Until you're a UFC champ, you're a nobody. Right, exactly. Everyone wants to pull that Conor McGregor trash talk kind of facade. But he was already, top in his weight division. I don't like trash talking, but he definitely has an art to it. He does it well. Right. And that's the thing. Like, everyone thinks they have to be like that. You don't. Just be yourself. Stop being fake. Right. Like, I know I can't trash talk. Like, that's just, that's not in my nature. Right. And I don't think trash talking is a good thing for me to do because I do have, kids that look up to me. Yeah. And I'm not going to trash talk in front of them and teach them that that's okay. Yeah. The martial artist in me says don't do that, Anytime I think about it, I just kind of giggle. Like,
Yeah, it's like my biggest thing is, and it stuck with me my whole life. Like one time, my dad just told me, like, act like you've been there. You know what I mean? I was like, so he's like, even though you've never done it before, just act like it. You know, have some class to yourself, because then people are gonna see that and be like, oh wow, like he just did all this, or she just did all this, and she doesn't even. It doesn't bother. She's not like flaunting it around and being cocky and
It's like the people that jump up on the cage. I'm like, yeah, it's cool, but
yeah.
I don't know.
I
Like,
know you're excited, but let's calm down.
yeah, like for me, like I did my double bicep, but
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
that was like I was looking back. I'm like, man, do I really need to do that?
No,
But
I don't think that was bad.
like, I still look back and I'm like,
I
yeah,
think-
you know, like I still question myself because like I don't like you said, like, and that's why I had it back in my mind. Act like you've been there. If I
Yeah.
was in the reverse position, I'd be like, you know,
Yeah,
there's been fighters and stuff that do dances and they get they get all into it, which like yeah, I get you're excited, but at the same time,
Right.
there's a fine line between being excited and being a little much.
yeah. Because I'm sure Hope Chase probably saw your arms and was looking at hers, and she's like, "Damn."
She's cut. She's
I
cut.
thought mine were big.
She is cut. I'll give her that.
Yeah,
But I had a good. I mean, I had a good weight cut. I did a lot of strength training.
yeah.
I earned those big B ham arms.
Right.
I gotta catch up to you.
You got a long way to go.
Yeah, I do.
So what are you doing now? Like outside of fighting, outside of training? You know what I mean? What are your things that people wouldn't think that you do?
So I actually had this conversation with Larry going right before we left. We were going to pick up the rental car, and people ask me what my hobbies are. I'm like,
You don't have
I
any.
don't have any. I work, I train, and I teach. Like that's it. Like
No.
on Saturdays, I have Heather and I hang out.
Yeah.
We nap, we cook.
You listen to Harry Potter podcast or whatever it is.
Yeah,
What do
I
you
mean,
listen to?
I listen to a bunch of like comedy podcasts and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. But like I'll listen to I listen to Harry Potter audiobook on the way down to
Audiobook,
fall
yeah,
asleep.
yeah.
Yeah, I use it to fall asleep because the voices are British and stuff. But like like I don't, not necessarily I don't have hobbies. It's just my hobbies are fighting, and fighting kind of takes up
Yeah.
75% of everything else that I do. Like I enjoy running, and running will always be like my first love.
Right.
Where like martial arts is like my true love. But now I run to help with martial arts, or I weightlift to help with martial arts.
Right. And I think that's what it is. I think everything that you do kind of like revolves around martial arts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like you're running, weightlifting, even doing the NASM thing.
Yeah.
Can help you some way. You
But
know what I mean?
it all comes back to one thing.
Right.
And I don't know, like that's what I feel like. What are your hobbies? I'm like, I like fight. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. Like
Food.
yeah, food and puppies. Like I have Daisy, my little nugget. Like, but even she's so low maintenance. For a
Is
dog.
she?
I don't know. Depends how much she's peeing in the house.
I mean, not here. She's not.
I don't know. She's got attitude. She has the attitude for both of us.
Yeah.
But like I mean that's the thing. Like I don't. I mean and that's that goes back to the whole schedule thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, on a weekend, like I'm either doing some sort of like Amazon driving as like my little side hustle thing,
Mm-hmm.
or like I'll go up to my brother's. Like before fight camp, I was up there usually every like Friday or Saturday, and I'd have dinner up there.
Yeah.
It was like almost like a ritual thing. Like I would go up there and hang out with them.
Yeah.
But after the fight, I'm like, oh man, I miss my niece and stuff like that because
Mm-hmm.
the kid's hilarious. She's my mini me.
Did they talk about fighting a lot with you?
They do, especially like when I'm getting ready for a fight. Like they had like
Okay.
a little watch party and stuff.
Mhm.
And I went up there on Monday, and I asked Sunny, my niece that's 2.5, and I was like, "Did you watch Becca fight?" She, no. My sister-in-law goes, "Yes, you did."
No.
She was saying that like she saw me, but once everyone started getting like all hyped up and we started fighting, she was kind of like, "What's going on?"
Yeah. What just happened?
Because
Right.
I'm not allowed to teach her how to punch or kick yet because the kid would probably punch and kick everything. And
Yeah.
the kid's built like a brick house. Like, she's mini Becca.
Yeah.
She looks like me too, which is nice.
That's funny.
But, I'm not allowed to teach her how to do, kicks and stuff yet because she'll probably end up kicking the dogs or something.
Yeah.
Or the chickens or, they have a whole menagerie up there. But, like, my family's always been really supportive. Like my mom came down to the fight with her fiance, so it was nice to have some family down there. But like my dad's always been supportive. Like the whole family has been. My granddad's the only one that goes, "Why do you like doing this?" I'm like, "Granddad, because I like it." He goes, "But what if you get hurt?" I'm like, "Then I get hurt."
Yeah.
To me, it's worth it.
You can get hurt doing anything.
Exactly. He's like, "But you could get kicked and there could be a blood clot." And I don't know what his thinking is to it, but it's funny. But, even on like, my cousins and stuff, they watch the fight on my dad's side. So it's nice that like seeing, I had this conversation with Heather. I'm like, I felt so loved because like I'm getting, texts from like Pam and Penny and, that they're watching the fight and that you had, the nieces and nephews over. And then, Kirsty's calling me Aunt Becca and, Nico calls me Aunt Becca and stuff like that. And knowing that like, your parents watched the fight, your non-violent parents watched that fight,
right.
which is really cool. Your brother watched it, like knowing how many people, I just felt so loved. Like, I'm like, this is nuts.
Yeah.
And like, these are the people that I care about.
Yeah.
The people like that I consider family that, I'm not related by blood, but you guys mean so much more to me than that.
Right.
And that's why I cried. Like when I saw the reaction video, I'm like, they love me. They really love me. At my Sally Field moment.
Because it's fun too, because it also makes everyone feel a part of something. You know what I mean? Because, you're the one in there doing that. But I feel like everyone feels like they play a part somehow, some way.
And they do. And so, damn Instagram only gives you so many characters to write captions and stuff.
Right.
And had I been able to write the thank you that I wanted to on Instagram, it would have expounded on that more. But it was like, I go in there and I go fight. But everyone is in there with me. Everyone has helped me in some sort of a way. That, me getting there would not be possible without not just the team and sparring partners and coaches, but the family that surrounds and supports me.
Yeah.
Like, I know you and Heather are my biggest fans.
Right.
That without a doubt, I don't have to question that. And it's like knowing that, I have that core group that, win, lose, or draw, they're going to be there for me.
Right.
It's not, I'm getting cheered on only when I'm doing well, but when I need to improve,
right.
Things like that. Like, that's where I know, like, I have a good core and I have a base to fall back on and to keep me grounded.
Yeah. I mean, that's all you can ask for. Because that's going to keep you going further than, anything else.
Oh, for sure. And remind me, keep me humble. And that's the other thing I appreciate about, coming out of Delaware Dragon Martial Arts is that you suck, train harder. It's, there's no ego there.
Oh, you're the best, Becca. I don't think anyone's ever even said that.
No. Sean said that he was proud of me and that, that means the world to me.
Yeah.
But it's not, and then, couple days later, all right, let's start picking this apart. Let's watch this fight and pick it apart.
Yeah.
It's time to improve. We get our couple of days to enjoy it and then, it's right back to work. It'll never be, oh, you did great. There's nothing to improve on.
Right.
You get stale that way. You get complacent. And that's when you get knocked out,
Yeah, and I think that's what every athlete needs, It's, again, too many people getting that, have those yes people.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, if you're surrounded by yes people, you're stunting your own growth.
Yeah.
And, yes people are nice. It's nice being told that you're great or... that you did something well and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's like, it's not realistic. It's a bubble, and that's why, Sean's in my corner and Sean has no, there's no issue calling me out on my bull. Like,
right.
If I start getting, no, let's knock you down a minute,
Yeah.
And it keeps me centered.
Yeah.
And I think, there's some fighters that don't have that. And it's a pity they don't have that.
Yeah.
Because you need people that are going to challenge you and tell you no and tell you, you suck, train harder.
Right.
And that's why that's why I always go back to is you suck, train harder.
Yeah.
Don't tell me good job.
Right.
You can tell me that after I perform, but, in train, you suck, train harder.
Yeah. Or good job, but
is that,
got to do this, and this.
That's why Sean and Larry, they have kind of the critique sandwich a little bit.
Yeah.
It's more of an open face sandwich where you get a little bit of good and then we get critique.
Yeah.
but it's the balance in it. You get that good cop, bad cop between the two of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like when I was younger, I hated being critiqued. But then, because you know how parents are, they want to tell you everything you did wrong right after the game.
Yeah.
I'm like, just shut up. Like, let's talk tomorrow or something. You know what I mean? But now, like, no one can tell me something that I haven't told myself 100 times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, because now, like, my family, like, they're always like, good job, I'm proud of you. I'm like, for what? I didn't do anything. Like, I haven't done anything. Why are you proud of me?
It's one of those, it's like, well, that was my job. That's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think when Holly Holm beat Ronda Rousey, all the entire corner was cheering, yelling, and you have Greg Jackson like, this is calm down. This is part of the plan. This is all part of the plan.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great way to look at it. Is like, yeah, I went out there and I did what I was supposed to do. And yes, I mean,
not only
it's all part of the plan.
Not only that too, like they psyched Ronda Rousey out by not trash talking back.
Yeah, they didn't engage with her, and that's
Right.
and that's Holly. Like that's the way she conducts herself.
Mm-hmm.
She's very classy. She's not gonna sit there and
Preacher's daughter.
Yeah, she's even at weigh-ins. Like when I saw the weigh-ins, I was like, Holly's got her.
Yeah.
Like just mentally, she didn't know what to do without someone else like trash talking back to her.
Oh yeah.
And Holly was Holly.
That's all I forgot to ask you. What do you think about Misha Tate coming back?
Oh yeah, we found out. So that we were actually in the car right down when that happened. That's interesting because when she fought Raquel Pennington, that was I think her last fight, and I think even in the corner she was like, "I'm done."
Yeah.
Like she didn't have the fight in her. I know she's done some interviews since then, kind of talking about I guess she was in a dark place. It's interesting. I think against Marion Renault, that's an even fight. Misha Tate's got some good wrestling. Marion Renault is a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I think I kind of got Misha Tate on this one. If she comes in with a good mindset.
Yeah.
I mean,
so I'm sure she's been training this whole time. It's not like she stopped training.
And that's the thing. Like even because I think she has 2 kids now. She's always been training in between. So I don't think she really ever fell out of it. And I think, people who are martial artists, like you just don't fall out of it. Like you just don't stop fighting.
Oh yeah.
Training or whatever. And like that's how I feel. Like even eventually whenever I retire, like it's not going to like stop.
Right.
I'm going to keep training. It's going to be my focus is going to be different.
Yeah.
And you also see a lot of fighters who are parents or recently new parents. They fight a little different.
Yeah.
Because they're fighting for something a little bit more. I'm interested to see. I think, when's their fight? July 17th or 10th?
July something, yeah.
So I think it's around like the International Fight Week. So that should be a good one. I think there's going to be a lot of eyes on that one.
Yeah.
With Misha Tate coming back.
Yeah, that'd be huge.
I mean, I don't know. I think she has a good chance.
Yeah.
Because I think she's got some really solid wrestling. She's gritty. So.
And it's a comeback. Like she don't want to look bad.
Yeah.
So.
And this is Mary Renault's last, I think, fight on her contract. And I think she's on like a 2-fight skid.
Okay.
2 or 3 fight. So I'm interested to see how it plays out.
Yeah.
I think it's a good matchup. I don't think either one's going to get particularly outclassed by the other. So I think I think it's going to go 3 rounds. I think it's going to be a good like 3-round like war kind of a fight.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be a decent amount of stand up, but I think there's going to be a lot of grappling.
Yeah.
Because Misha Tate she's a good wrestler. She comes out of Extreme Couture. She's been posting some really good training videos, and that's when Larry was like, "Yeah, I think she might make a comeback." I was like, "Nah," she said she retired.
Right.
Prove me wrong. Prove me to be a liar. So when she came back, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens. But I don't know. Anything else you want to throw in here?
So since I didn't get a chance to thank all of my sponsors, my post-fight speech was relatively quick. Just, everyone that bought the pay-per-view, came down and watched the fight, from the very bottom of my heart, thank you. You guys have always been my corner from the start with Strong Tower athletics and nutrition and podcast. So everyone that has helped me get down, my sponsors that helped me physically actually get down to the fight. It was definitely a long drive to get there and, pay for most of the, travel and stuff out of pocket and hotels and stuff. So just, trust me, everyone, I could feel the love and I felt every single person in the cage. And I just want to say thank you to everyone.
Yeah, and thank you to everyone that's followed her and got her Instagram up. Because I was watching your followers just go up. I was
Yeah.
like, that's so weird.
I've been getting new followers all the time. Like, I'm almost to 1,000.
I know.
I'm not nearly close to, like, other people, but, you know.
Right.
Like less than 75 more now, so. Giraffe_MMA, not Giraffe_Mima, but if you want to call me Giraffe Mima, that's cool too.
All right, we're out.